Hello, I'm Stephanie Toman and I run the ICDL programme. Today I'm going to continue with the advanced word weekly revision that go with the lectures that I've done in week 2. So just to remind ourselves, if you've not been on here before as yet, the first lectures for week 2 were done previously, and they're done in 2 sections. So I've done the text editing and paragraph editing together, and then document setup and tables in a separate video. So the weekly revision exercise questions 1 to 13 to cover those areas are going to be done now. So what you'll need the weekly revision work files. So make sure you do have the correct ones from Aula. If you don't, you won't see them looking like this, and when you apply things, they won't always work. So make sure you don't pick up the pre-online ones, so make sure they are these instead. The other thing you'll need from the week revision folder is the question paper. So you can see here we're on week 2, questions 1 to 13, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out the question, we're going to look at it together, and then we're going to go and see the demonstration of it. Okay, so we'll get started. The first question is to open the birds document, use the find and replace command to find all paragraphs with 6 points before spacing and replace with 10 points before spacing. So let's go and do that one. So there's the birds document, open that up. And here we have it. So in order to get the find and replace to find things like spacing, we need to use the replace feature, which is up here on the home tab. So click on there. Always drop the more down because we need to go in and find some things through this channel here. Do you remember the button that takes you to the ribbon area? So we place our cursor in the find, and if we remind ourselves of the question, it wants us to find 6 points before spacing in the document, in the whole document. So we go through the format. Spacing before is going to be in paragraph. Make sure you use the little arrow so that you get the PT there. We found that before spacing 6, okay. Place your cursor again in the replace bit. I'm going to replace with 10 points. So, excuse me. So we're going in here again. Put it on the 0, and then you make sure your number lock's on and type in a 1 in front of that 0. And we've got 10 points before. Okay, that you can see it's there, sat there waiting. And then because it's replace all, we can immediately go and click on replace all button. Made 3 replacements. Okay, that. Close the feature down, and that's question 1 done. So we're going to move on to question 2. Okay, so question 2, back to our paper. We're going to copy the paragraph starting with only selected and ending with harm, do more harm than good. And this is exactly what they'll do in the exam. They'll give you the start and the end. And then we're going to paste it into a new document as unformatted text and save it as bird 1. So we've got to open, we're still in the bird, so if you closed it like I have, you've got to open it again. So we're looking for this paragraph here. We're going to copy it, and we're going to get a new document. Now I've got mine on my quick access toolbar, but if you need a new one, you can go all the way around and find it that way. And instead of just pasting it, we're actually going to do it as unformatted text. So whatever formatting is going with that paragraph is going to be left behind. It's going to start without any formatting applied. Paste special, unformatted text. It's not linked, so we just leave it on paste. Okay, and there you go. Okay, so that's another area of the syllabus you'd be expected to find. And then you would go on to save it as birds 1. Remember, when you're saving in the exam, use the browse because it brings the dialog box up, and that way they think that you know you've searched for the Z drive here. And then you may be asked to change the name, which we have been. So just over type rather than getting rid of everything. Keep things nice and tight, and nice and simple. Okay, and then you would save that. I'm not going to do it, but that's the nature of it. Okay, so next question. Before I close this down, let's find out what it is. Still in the birds document, we're going to wrap the text around the table on page 1 so that it is around text and on the right, and then just save and close. So we're going to our document again. Let's find the table, here it is. Click on it like that. Right click, go to the table properties. That's where we're going to find our wrap feature. And it's in the table tab. There's our text wrapping. It's on none at the moment and we need it on around. And then we're going to also apply the right. So make sure they're both selected as they are. And this is quite typical of the exam. Okay. And they won't ask you to drag it into text or anything, but you can see that that has worked. Okay. If you're saving and closing, you would just hit the save there and close. But in the exam, you tend to just do the item unless asked otherwise, and then you would click on answer to move on to the next question. Okay, we're finished with our birds there, so I'm going to close it and not save it, and back to our question paper. And we're moving on to the area section 3, paragraph editing. So section 3 on question 4, we're looking at using the widows and orphans file to apply a keep lines together to the whole document, and then it's just a little bit of a brief to see what happens to the paragraph at the end of the document. That's really not something they would say in the exam, but it's just for you while you're learning so that you can see what happens. So let's go and do that. So first of all, we've got to find it. There it is right at the bottom, widows and orphans. Open that up. You can bring it down if you want to see what happens to this here, just for learning purposes. Control and A is going to highlight the whole document. We can right click and go into paragraph. We can go into paragraph here. It doesn't really matter in the exam, whichever way you prefer. Go onto the line and page breaks and click on the keep lines together, not with next, as I just did, lines together. It doesn't talk about removing this, so widows and orphan control still applies, but we're adding that there. When you're okay, you can see that it's worked because what it's done is brought the whole of the previous paragraph that's connected to that part of a sentence that goes with that paragraph. It's made sure that it automatically keeps it together, which is good practice, and takes it onto the next page if necessary. Okay, and that would happen automatically throughout a document you were doing if you were doing your dissertation, and for the exam it would be the correct method to answer the question. I'm going to close that one and don't save. Question 5, we're going to open up the Stately Home document and create a new style called Main in Arial 16 points, blue font colour and 6-point spacing before paragraph. Then apply this to the main heading. So let's open that up. So Stately Home, there it is there. Let's bring it back up for you so you can see it. Okay, so the main heading, let's have a look and see what's going on with our styles. Let's bring up our launcher here. So the main heading is going to be this one. And that's the thing about when we create a new style, we have to place our cursor or highlight the area that style is going to apply to once we've created it, because it does it by default. So we need to think about that. So once again, remember in Word, I will keep saying this, that you need to know where your cursor is or what you're applying something to. So your first thing is, where is my cursor? Am I applying it to words, a title, a sentence, a whole document? And then find the feature that it's asking for, and thirdly, do the job. Okay, so it's very important that you know what you're doing it to first, because if you find all of that information, get the feature correct, do the job, and it's applied to the wrong bit, then unfortunately the question won't get, you won't get your mark. Okay, so be really careful about this. So we're here on the main heading. We're going to go into create style, a new style here, and it's going to be called main. So we're going to name it. It is a paragraph style, so make sure that you doesn't say character. If it doesn't say character, you go with the paragraph. It's got to be Arial, which it is, 16 points. Blue, any blue by the looks of it. And then through here, we have to go to the space before. So we're going through into the paragraph ribbon, through the feature on the indents and spacing. And we need a 6 before. It doesn't mention doing anything to the after, so we can just leave that as it is. And then OK, have a quick look, see how it looks. Check we've done everything. Main, the title, Arial, 16 points. And blue and 6 points before, and we're applying it to the main heading. So that is question 5. As I said in the exam, you would normally just do that and then answer. Okay, so question 6, the week revision. We're going to change the text starting Elizabeth is said to have, etc. On page 2 to have both a left and right margin indent of 1.27 and font size 14. And then we're going to update heading 3 to match selection. So here's our document. Remember, you can get around by holding the scroll bar to get to page 2. You've got the find, where you can find the pages that way. And you've got the Control G to go to as well. So on page 2, this is our text here. I'm going to apply 14 indents through the paragraph launcher. 1.27 left and 1.27 right. Okay, then we're going to bring up the style launcher. As you can see, no heading 3. Okay, so this won't be in the exam, but it is worth knowing if you live in the real world, as we do. You might get a document and you may need to use some headings that you can't see. So through the options button at the bottom of the task pane, click on the options. Drop down the first option, select styles to show, and make sure it's on all styles, and then OK. And then you can see the heading 3. Now, whilst that is highlighted, do not click straight on heading 3, because what you'll do is you'll apply heading 3 to that text you've highlighted. And in fact, the questions ask us to do the other way around. It wants us to apply our formatting we've done, the changes we've made, to heading 3. Okay, so what you do is you drop down at the side of it and use the update heading 3 to match selection. Click on there. Now, if we clicked in this data and I clicked on this text and clicked on heading 3, that's then applied. So this is what we've made the change to. Okay, so then you've answered that question, and then we're going to move on to the next one. Okay then, so question 7 under the section 4 document setup, we're going to continue with State Your Home. We're going to modify the vertical alignment of the first section only so that it's centered. We're going to delete the page break before the gift shop heading. And we're going to select the house paragraph section and change the section so it's only that page is in landscape, and then save and close. In the exam, we would just save if asked and then click on answer to move on. So let's have a look. So here we've got, let's close our styles down and let's go to section 1. Remember sections here. You can select that, bring it on, or take it off using that. So if I could double click on that, I can go to section, click in there, put in 1. You can use Control G to go to as well, close, and we're in section 1. So section 1, if we go to layout and onto page setup here, and then you can see the layout tab, and there's our vertical alignment here and center. So this is the sort of thing you could use on a cover page if you had a dissertation and you wanted everything centered on your cover page only, in that section only. So as long as it's sectioned off, what happens to that? OK, and then you should see it jump to the middle of the page, centrally and vertically aligned. OK, so the next part of the question it's asking us to delete a page break before the gift shop heading. So in order to see a page break, back to your home tab, remember we have to use the show and hide. So click on the show and hide, scroll down our document so we can see gift heading, gift shop heading, there's that page break, Now remember, if you click in front of it, you're going to be using the delete key. If you click at the end of it, which you won't let us do, particularly if you're in the front of a page section break, then you would be using the backspace. So backspace deletes to the arrow it's pointing at, which is to your left, and the delete will delete to the right. So I'm hitting the delete button, there it's gone. And the final part of the question, on question 7, is to put the house paragraph section. Let's find the house heading. That's a section on its own, section 2. We're going to see it sectioned off there. Go to the layout and put it onto orientation landscape and check, bring it down. Is it the only page that landscape? Yes, it is. So that's that question done now too. You can save and close the document, or you can click on answer for the exam. Let's move on to the next. Okay, so question 8, open the daily news file, apply 2 columns to the whole of the text. It says not the heading in brackets, but you won't get that hint in the exams because we're still learning. Equal widths for the columns, 1.5, space between them and a line between them too. And then insert a column break before the paragraph dog eats. So let's just open up daily news. There we go. Not Control A because we don't want to highlight the heading. Remember, with the show and hide on, you can see that section break there. Take that off. So we're highlighting text only. We're going to go into layout, drop down onto more columns. Always use more columns so we can do all of the things together. 2 columns, 1.5 space, equal column width, line between, it usually is none, put it on there. Okay, and then that's done. The second part, place your cursor into the breaks and use a column break to take that up beautifully. Keeps it in line. And remember, when you see that, you can see it always stays in line according to the section break. So that's nice and straightforward. We're going to move on to question 9. Okay, question 9. Insert a watermark name sample into the document called Wine with the diagonal layout and make sure it appears on every page if a new one's inserted. Okay, so let's find Wine right at the end there. Okay, so into Design tab, there's our watermarks. Just close that stars, come back up again. Our watermark here in the Design tab, Custom Watermark so that we know it will automatically go on a new page if inserted. So we bring that in, select the text watermark, drop this down. Is there a sample? There it is there. That's our text. We want it on diagonal, so that's okay. I'm just going to put on red just for you so that you can see it. It doesn't ask for red colour. But I just want you to be able to see it clearly because you can't always see it on here. Then you apply and then you close. And you can see there that it's worked. Use Control and Enter just to see the second part works. And it does. So that's nice and straightforward. Okay, we're going to move on to the tables section. Okay, into the section 5, tables in the manual. We've got, we're covering the week 2 revision, weekly revision. Test questions 10. 11, 12 and 13, the final bits. So 10 is open the document name table, format the first row of the text in the table below to ensure that the cell contents are centered both vertically and horizontally. So let's go into our table. Let's go and open that up. Here we go. So they highlighted the headings. You've got the table tool tabs come up once you're in a table. And in the layout tab, you have the alignment group, and there's the feature that we're using to center text horizontally and vertically within the cell. And that's what it does. Okay, we're going to move on to question 11. Okay, so still using the tables document, we're going to use calculation to give the totals for the fourth quarter only. Make sure that the number format includes 2 decimal places. Change the oranges in the fourth quarter from 102 to 120 and update the calculated field. Okay, so let's go in here. So it's in the fourth quarter only in here, and we're going to go to we're in the layout tab still from last time when we looked at these. So in the layout tab, you have the formula feature. And we're going to, in here, we're going to place that sum above, and it says it wants the number format, which is here, to be with 2 decimal places. We always use the hash features, so click on there. Doesn't talk about a euro or anything, which we're okay for now. So if we okay that, it's done it in there. And you can see it's a field when you click on it, it goes grey. Then we got to change the oranges in the fourth quarter, which is this one here, to 120. So we just type in 120, right click on the field and update to incorporate that change. So question 12, finally edit the field to show no decimal places and lock the field so it can't be modified. So let's go and have a look. So here, if we right click, it can be modified because it's still got that update field available. In order to change the decimal places, we need to right click and go into the edit field area. Into the formula button, takes us back to our feature, and we're going to change that to no decimal places, whole numbers only there, using the hashes. Okay. So now it is no decimal places. Do you remember the keys? Control and F11 function key. Right click and it's now locked. And if you're asked in the exam to unlock a field, you would use Control Shift F11 and right click on it in the exam as well if you want to make sure that it is unlocked or locked depending on what they're asking you for. So Control F11 to lock, to unlock, Control Shift and F11. You may have to unlock something in order to update it in the exam, and they may not say unlock it if it's locked and you need to update it, then you need to unlock it. So the last question coming, and that's that bit done. Okay, so question 13, the last of this series, the week 2 revision questions 1 to 13. Convert the table text in the document diary to a table with tabs and the appropriate number of rows and columns. So let's go into our, close this, we don't need this anymore. And we're going to open up diary. There it is. Okay, so we're going to highlight the text. We're not going to take it past. Sometimes in the exam you can take this past. We can't on this one, we're lucky. But be aware that you stop at the end there. Okay, so into insert table drop down, and there's your convert text table. Show you again in there, and that's it there. So if you've highlighted it correctly, you should have the right number of columns, and then it's already gone on tabs, so we're quite lucky there. So we've picked up what we need in the question, click on OK, and there it's done. Now, in the exam, I know this isn't the question. Remember, if you need to convert it back, then you would go through this way to do it. So you'll go in the opposite way. So when you're in a table, the table tools become available. You convert back to text. When you're in text, you go through the insert table there. So that's the end of this series for the week 2 revision. Questions 1 to 13. So I'm going to carry on with the lectures if you want to go along with those. Week 3, and they will have revision questions to go with those too.